Y'all, here we have two Frontier Airline workers that are working at the airport that are in charge of checking people in for their flights. And as you can see, you guys are about to watch a video of a man that is trying to check into his flight. And you won't believe what happens in this video.
Made that flight. You did. Bad. And you think, oh, you're going to check me in. I bet you we won't.
I paid for a ticket.
And you paid $25 for agent assistance and you checked in 3 hours later. Hello.
I just said that I
gonna get on your flight.
Yeah, I just said that I would pay the $25.
And you thought you were gonna get on your flight. And you thought you were gonna get on your flight. And you thought you were gonna get on your flight. And you thought you were gonna get on your flight.
I literally paid for a ticket. I'm here 30 minutes. I'm here 30 minutes before my flight. And they're not letting me check in.
And you're not getting on your flight.
Because it's a policy. We don't control that.
And you will never fly.
You were about to let me check in. You were about to let me check in. And you decided that you ain't gonna let me check in.
Make me check you in.
You literally work for a company that I bought a plane ticket for. I'm here 30 minutes before the flight. No.
Can you please leave my personal space?
I'm not in your personal space. This is not your personal space.
This is my stationery.
This is not your personal space. You work for a company.
And the big question is, what happened next? Well, I am here to give you an update. According to TMZ, Frontier agents fired for mocking customers, and you thought you was going to get on your flight. Now, I thought this was an interesting read because I needed a little bit more context because the video didn't really explain exactly what the issue was, why there was a fee, and why he wasn't allowed on the flight. But according to TMZ, footage circulating online shows a Frontier customer trying to check in at the ticket counter for a flight from North Carolina to Boston, and things go south when the agents mention a $25 fee to check in with them in person. And it goes on to say, the guy balks at the fee and the Frontier workers start arguing, refusing to check him in, mocking him, and repeatedly telling him, and you thought you was getting on your flight? But they said it was too late. He had already whipped out his phone to document the incident, and the gate attendant started recording him too, and things get nasty. And nasty it got, because these two workers were fired. Frontier Airlines tells TMZ, we are aware of what occurred, and we have been directly in touch with the customer. The individuals in question, who work for a third-party contractor, are no longer associated with the Frontier account. And why TMZ being petty? Because they said here, the budget airline also tells us they refunded the man's original flight and reimbursed him for a different flight he booked to get home. Now, before I say anything about what I think, I wanted to get some more additional context about what happened. What was this fee about? What was the big commotion? This is what I found on the news.
The man was flying from Raleigh to Boston and arrived at the airport roughly 50 minutes before the flight. That means he missed Frontier's check-in window, which requires people to pay a fee if they fail to check in at least an hour before their flight.
Now that's interesting. And this is news to me. I have never flown with Frontier, but apparently if you're late by an hour, you got to pay $25. Now, if that's the rules, that's the rules. Now I'm trying to figure out why he wasn't allowed on the flight still.
After arguing and some cursing, the man agreed to pay the fee, but an employee still refused to check him in.
So there's a $25 fee because he was late. He paid the fee. They still said they weren't letting him on the flight. And then they, as you can see here, y'all, they laughing at the man. They're mocking him. They're like, hey, we ain't let you on the plane. I don't think they thought they was going to get fired because they seem very confident about not letting him on the plane. They're recording him. Now, this energy definitely could be because they may have got cursed out and some vulgar language was exchanged. But one thing you never want to do, by any means, if you want and care about the job that you have, is to get caught on candy cam in 4K being unprofessional. Now, I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear that, but it's the absolute truth. You have to remain professional as much as you can. Why? Because your livelihood may depend on it. Now, I don't know if they need the job. I don't get the gist that they need the job by how they acting because it's a little bit too much. I'm not shocked that they got fired. Even if somebody cursed you out on the job, this right here, this attitude and how you're representing the company when there is adverse things going on and you are wearing their uniform, it's just not going to end well for you. The pettiness, the this, and I just don't know what the make me check you in thing was going to do. I just feel like after that, it was after a few things. I just felt like it was all downhill from there. And then when the other girls started laughing and they essentially tag teamed them, and they both just pulled out their stuff and then just was like, it's policy, it's policy. It's like, it may be. But I don't think this is how any company wanted to be represented. And I think that's why they got the boot. And I wish them both well. And it's sad. Actually, I seen somebody online say this right here. They said, oh, you thought you was going to eat on your flight? You thought you were going to eat on your flight? And then the guy was like, oh, you thought you was going to keep your job? I was like, dang. That right there was honestly just the perfect setup for somebody to just come back and be like, you thought you was going to keep your job. You thought you was going to keep your job. Because what, like, come on now. Lord have mercy.
You were about to let me check in,
Oh,
and you decided that you ain't going to let me check in.
Make me check you in.
You literally work for a company that I bought a plane ticket for. I'm here 30 minutes before the
Can you
flight.
please leave, sir?
No,
Can you please leave my personal space?
I'm not in your personal space.
You in
This
my
is
face?
not your
I work
personal
here. This is my
space.
stationery.
This is not
I'm at
your
work here.
personal space. You work for a company. This is not your personal space.
We ain't not worried about it. We ain't not worried about it.
You don't have to worry about it. You're literally
The whole encounter is quite interesting and crazy, to say the least, because they are on the clock. This is their work that they're doing. But saying you ain't got to worry about it after this sort of encounter is interesting. I don't know if that's just something people say, like, oh, you don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. No, worry. Nothing wrong with carrying yourself a certain way at work. When you're outside of work, you want to do what you want to do, cool. And I also would say this. Let's put ourselves, whoever you are, put yourself in the shoes of the person who said, hey, I know I was late. Like, I don't know what happened before they started recording, but let's just say you go ahead, pay for your flight already, and then you said, hey, I'm going to pay for the fee. And the employees are still like, I'm not letting you on the flight. I'd be like, what do you mean you're not letting me on the flight too? Like, okay, fine, I understand, and I might have been a little upset that I have to pay the $25, and maybe the exchange was way more heated than we're seeing before all this recording, but that don't matter. It's more about what you can prove. Like, let's be for real. And he got the proof that he was saying, hey, y'all was finna check me in. I was gonna pay the fee. Why aren't you letting me on my flight? Like, all of this is incriminating. We have to be mindful, and this is your livelihood. This is your job. I feel like the tit for tat they were doing, this was probably just like, hey, I'm not gonna let you on the flight and make me book you, make me check you in, because I don't gotta do it. And I also think at work there are ways to address issues like this with etiquette, so you don't get fired in the event that somebody is cussing you out, because that's not right either. People shouldn't be able to just come in there and cuss you out. And I don't know what happened, but from this perception, and perception does matter, it looks like y'all was trying to upset this man who is trying to get on his flight. Meanwhile, he's recording this to send it to corporate. He's recording this to have his little evidence. Y'all don't know people like to sue and have lawsuits against the companies and stuff like that. Like, hello? He was making sure all his ducks was in a row.
really not doing your job for a customer that has paid for a plane ticket to get home.
I told you.
Then she said, stop putting the camera on him. This is a public space. And he's allowed to record at the airport. This is what's happening to him. This is his encounter.
That has paid for a plane ticket to get home.
Then she jumped across the desk. And then they just standing there.
I'm literally here at Frontier. I bought a ticket and they are not letting me check in for no reason whatsoever.
Well, you said you're never flying the airline again, so we might as well help you out and have you not fly the airline.
I've already bought a ticket.
So the guy at the end ends up saying, we gonna help you out. Didn't you say you ain't flying with us no more? We trying to help you out. And he's like, I bought the ticket. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Did he get fired too? Look, I don't want anybody to get fired in this economy. Absolutely not. I'm quite aware that it is a struggle for a lot of people to get a job, which is why I don't understand this sort of carrying on. Everybody that seemed to work there seemed to be on the same page, like, hey, we're not checking them in. Now, we heard that the other two got fired, but I'm just asking.
I've literally already bought a ticket, and this is your reaction.
Y'all, tell me what y'all think about all this, but we got to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future. Ooh,